Holy smokes, we are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and your friends if you want to support this rebel outpost. If you want to support the home for college football sickos with a donation, hit that $ where you make your comment and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Everybody is welcome into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. It is May 28th. The SEC, the Southeastern Conference, what have you been doing all of this time? How can you not possibly know how your coaches sit when it comes to the college football playoffs? How can Greg Sankey say, I finally was able to have deep conversations with the coaches and the athletic directors? What have you been doing all this time? You've been in an advisory group with the Big Ten. Ross Dellinger 3 or 4 weeks ago reported that the SEC presidents, the coaches, the administrators were all in line with what the Big Ten wanted to do. What have you been doing? The message coming out of the SEC meetings, Greg Sankey, you don't got a clue. You do not have a clue of how splintered your own conference is. You know, do you remember when the Big Ten and the SEC, when it was announced that they were going to form this advisory group together, that they were going to put down their swords and they were going to have this advisory group together, and it wasn't really a threat to the Big 12. It wasn't really a threat to the ACC. It wasn't really a threat to the G6 conference. In other sports, it wasn't going to be a threat to those other 28 Division I basketball conferences. That the advisory group coming together between the Big Ten and the SEC, they were doing this for our own good. Do you remember what that was? So they could cut through all of this. So you tighten the circle of decision makers. You tighten the circles, and you can make more decisive decisions. Remember that? That was the argument. Well, you know what? We'll decide here. We'll get together, and then we'll present it. It wasn't just about the college football playoffs. It was about a host of ideas and concepts and issues out there. The Big Ten and the SEC, Patiti and Sankey, we're going to come together, really, get these things down, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then present it to everybody else. How's that working out for you? One issue, the college football playoff format for 2026. The one issue in which the SEC and the Big Ten actually have voting powers to do what they want if they two can come together. And look what is happening. After all these months, the SEC has no idea what they're doing. Have you been watching those interviews? They're all over the place. And then we learned today, excuse me. Then we learned today in these SEC meetings, we're gonna go over a short CBS article. We learned today that the geniuses in the SEC, what they really want is an 8+1 when it comes to their scheduling. To stick with 8 SEC conference games, but have a crossover scheduling agreement with the Big Ten. Oh, really? That is what you want? That is what you want. The Big Ten has made it known forever that they weren't going to do that. That you're going to have to go up the 9 conference games, and then we'll talk about a scheduling agreement. Today, the coaches have made it known that they want an 8+1. Sankey, do you even go to these meetings? Do you even talk to anybody in your own conference? You should. The message should have already been sent. Look, guys, these are our options. We go up to 9 conference games, and we might have a scheduling agreement with the Big Ten. We go to 9 conference games. That's going to be more losses, so we should probably go to these automatic bids. If we don't want to do that, then we go 5 to +11. This is a 3-minute conversation. And then the long part of it is going through the metrics, going through the past history, going through the data. But it's almost like they all woke up in Destin, Florida, and they're having these conversations for the very first time. There is nobody should be writing an article today saying, oh, the SEC coaches, they have made it known in the spring meetings that they want an 8+1. That's not on the table. That cannot be on the table. That's not on the table. If it's on the table, then Tony Petitti's got to walk out of his office, go catch the bus, and get out of town because obviously you're not fit to be commissioner. But it cannot be on the table. It's ludicrous for them to be having these type of discussions. It's May 28th. My God. This should have been a 3-minute conversation 4 months ago. Make up your blessed mind. We've been talking about this for months. There are advantages and disadvantages to the Southeastern Conference to do a 5+11. We've done live shows on this. There are advantages and disadvantages to doing a 4-4-2-2-1-3 to the SEC. Pick your poison. Pick your poison. If you side with the Big Ten on the 4-4-2-2-1-3, that is going to be it. If you side with the Big 12 and the ACC on the 5+11, that's going to be it. You are the deciding vote. Everybody's got it figured out where they want to go with this. The Big 12, the ACC, the Big 10. How, at this time, how can the SEC not know what they are for? I get it. There's disagreement. Of course there is. In any big conference. I'm sure there's disagreements in the Big 12. But Yormark has made it clear. He made it clear today. 5+11. The Big Ten has made it clear. Even silent Tony Petitti, who doesn't say a word, but everybody knows the Big... I told you what the Big Ten position was last September. But where is the SEC's position? Other than throwing barbs at everybody, what is their position? Honestly, I have been doing this YouTube channel, the most unpopular YouTube channel, football YouTube channel in the country, by the way. And I don't know, guys. I don't see this Tony Petitti brilliance. I do not see this Greg Sankey brilliance. And I get it. Every Big Ten, everybody's mad at me. Fine. But I don't see this brilliance, guys. I don't. You got one guy who can't talk. And the other guy, by the way, talking in public, what you do in private is really important, but what you do in public is also important when you are a commissioner of an incredibly wealthy and powerful conference like the Big Ten. You got to be able to talk. You got to be able to market yourself. You got to be able to push issues. You got to be able to communicate in public in front of a microphone. And Sankey's got the opposite problem. He's yapping away and he doesn't say anything. Well, when I know, I'll let you know. This is the first time that I've really gotten deep discussions with my own people. What have you been doing? And I get it. I get it. Go Black 45. I get it, and I'm going to go over that. Not all the coaches are in agreement. Let's be clear on that. At this point in time, the coaches are talking about an 8+1. We're going to go through the article. The article was just released. The SEC's message, the coach's message is 8+1. Why don't they know that that's an impossibility? Why are they spending any time on that? Has Greg Sankey not been communicating? What is going on? 8+1 is not a possibility. So why is that your message coming out of these meetings? What is going on in these advisory groups? What is going on with Sankey's communication? I don't get it. I do not get it. But you guys, I'm sure one of you, many of you, will be able to explain this to me. We have got a stacked show. We're going to go through a roll call. Our show is absolutely stacked and really important. Keep your head on a swivel for any breaking news. Let me know in the chat room, and I will cover it on this show as quick as possible. Expedition Greg, thank you so much for the gifted membership. Going to K-Do. When you get an opportunity, please say thank you to Expedition Greg for his generosity. Both of you are knighted. Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger, thank you so much, Expedition Greg, for all your generosity through the days and weeks and months and the years. Thank you, Expedition Greg. Thank you so very much. And Bill G, once again, 5 gifted membership. The very kind, generous Bill G. David Balmforth, Hidden Hawaii. Michael Batts, Dave B, and Laura Wellborn. You've all been gifted a membership from the kindness, once again, of Bill G. Please say thank you to Bill G for his gifted membership. All of you are knighted, Cloak and Dagger. Congratulations, you are all a part of the members of our channel. You can go to our library and check out all the episodes. All of them are open to you as members, including our early peak Cloak and Dagger members only episodes. Thank you, Bill G. Thank you so much. Expedition Greg, let's do a roll call. Mr. Monkey says PATC never sleeps. Bo Weevil, go Clemson. The Walking Geek is in the house. Jan Hulk is in the house. The Sun Devil himself, Antoine Johnson, is in the house. Mike W, SEC is in the house. D5 Terps, Terrapins. Dave B saying thanks to Bill G. Dave B saying thanks to Bill G. Ryan Brooks, go Tigers. CFB Plus is in the house. Go Black 45 is here. Outlaw Skis, Rob Ellen, the Big Lubbock, Mike W, Tony, Tough Tony is here. Who else? Jose, USC, Tumasta, RT, Ryan Brooks. I've already done your Ryan Brooks. Buck Wargo is here. Azon the Kid, Sheep Fan. Okay, David M. Okay, we got a lot to get to. First of all, we are going to talk a little football. We are going to talk a little football before we get into this college football playoff format 2026. The drama that is going on, playing before us. And what is interesting is, you ask, I talk to Big 12 and ACC fans on this channel, a lot of DMs, a couple of them on email, people that I've known for a long time. And there is really no unanimous decision on what people want. Even in Big 12 country, even in ACC country. 5+11, it sounds equitable. It sounds fair. This is what sports should be about. Automatic bids for the conference champions, then at large bids. This is how we do pretty much every sport in the NCAA. College sports. But 5+11 also brings on some bad case scenarios. No guarantees. The Big 12 and the ACC would also lose out on, I believe, a little bit more money during the championship weekend. Instead of having two play-in games, they're going to go back to one conference championship game. You're not going to be guaranteed two auto bids, two teams into the playoffs. Last year, if it was 16 teams, 5+11, the SEC would have gotten 6 teams, and the Big 12 would have gotten 1. There are advantages and disadvantages to both these models. But before we get into all that, we're going to talk a little bit of football. We're going to talk some MAC action. Bill Conley, ESPN, comes out with a new metric that I think is pretty interesting. So let's get into that. Then we're going to go through a few stories, and then we're going to get into the college football playoffs. Also, I don't know really how to approach this subject because I don't really have any information other than high-level speculation. Nothing, not confirmed, not intel, not a nugget, speculation. High-level speculation from a very successful, wealthy booster that I did not have direct talks with. But the information is coming through BTM and his associates. Very high level speculation. For this very successful booster, a booster that supports a Big Ten athletic department and other departments of the university, a Big Ten university, not the University of Minnesota. Very high level speculation on what he believes is going on with this story of the Big Ten looking for a partner. Those were his words. Looking for a partner. It's pretty, again, I don't know how to really go at this other than to say this is high-level speculation. Please consume the information as that. But in regards to Big Ten is, we saw this report from Ross Dellinger, 4 firms, private equity firms, jockeying for position to own a certain percentage of the Big Ten Conference. And going through this, high speculation, it only can mean, according to this top level money perch, it can only mean one of 2 things. One, the Big Ten and possibly Fox somehow is looking for a partner to sell a certain percentage of the conference, and that partner is a massive, and you only can think of 1 or 2 of these, massive media partner, media company. Or number 2, selling the percentage off of the conference to a massive private equity firm / bank in order to afford near-term acquisitions. But either way, high-level speculation from a major top-level booster. He's not in the room. He doesn't truly know. But from a position of knowledge that this particular person has with private equity firms, and let's be clear, let's be honest, a lot of these biggest boosters out there are all part of some other private equity firm. They are a partner in the firm. With knowledge of what the Big Ten could be possibly looking at, and at this level, the booster told BTM, and BTM started the phone call with me by saying, this story, when it comes out, this story is going to be the biggest story in college sports this year. Not all these other big stories that are going on. It has the possibility of that. So, anyways, welcome to College Football 2025. Welcome to college football's peek around the corner. Let's talk some MAC football first. Before we get into all this crazy talk, let's get into all of this first. 2024, this is Bill Conley now. Bill Conley, ESPN 2024 recap. The Ohio Bobcats, Stephen Vitt, PATC family member, the Bobcats, MAC conference champions, the first time since what was it, 1966, 67, 68, something like that. Ohio whipped up Miami, Ohio in the MAC Conference Championship game. I don't remember the score. It was something like 1,000,000-0. The Ohio Bobcats, we're just recapping this. Ohio was at the top. Miami, Bowling Green, who had a pretty good team last year. Remember, Bowling Green gave Penn State a tough game. Buffalo had a good season, and they're going to have a good season next year. And the Gophers start off their opener against Buffalo. I'm probably going to do a watch party, double watch party that Thursday, August 28th. Of course, one of those got to be my Gopher team, and they might be playing a very tough test against Buffalo. That was the 2024 recap. Okay, the continuity table looks at each team's returning production level. The number of 2024 FBS starts from both returning and incoming players. So, basically, we're looking at who is coming back for every team. The returning production. Toledo is number 1. You've got the returning production, and then you've got offense and defense. We're not going to go over much on this table, but it's Toledo 1, Buffalo 2, Central Michigan 3, Ohio 4, right down the list. You had a whole bunch of great MAC talent leave the conference. Miami corner Strader going to Auburn. Bowling Green's running back Stewart going to Virginia Tech. Ethan Hampton, remember him? We watched them beat the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Northern Illinois, he's going to Illinois. The great tight end, Tanner Kozol, he's going to Houston. He transferred somewhere else. I don't remember. Where did he go before? He was a double transfer this off season. Toledo and Buffalo mostly avoided the same fate, however. The Rockets and the Bulls both rank in the top 50 in returning production. Despite losing their great head coach of last year, Ohio attempted to continue by promoting offensive coordinator Brian Smith, first-year head coach Brian Smith. He was able to hold on to Parker Navarro, the quarterback, their left tackle, safety T.J. Walker. This is the 2025 projections of Bill Conley. Toledo number 1, Ohio number 2, and Buffalo number 3. Miami of Ohio number 4. So there's 4 MAC schools in the top 100. And I think there's 136 FBS teams this year, correct? 136. I think Kent State is last, 136. I think UMass is second to last. I think Ball State is third to last. I might be wrong, but I think those are the 3 bottom schools using this Bill Conley projection. Only 4 teams start out with the top 100 projections, and they make sense. They're the 2 who played in the title game last year, Ohio and Miami of Ohio, and the 2 who returned the most from the 2024 bowl teams, Toledo and Buffalo. So Bill Conley is basically saying this is really a 4-team race in the MAC Conference for 2025. These are the projections. Conference wins, Toledo at 6.4. Not overall wins, conference wins. And then you got Buffalo, Ohio, and then you got Buffalo right behind Ohio, and then Miami of Ohio. 4-team race. The 5 best games in 2025. Toledo at Bowling Green, Miami, Ohio at Ohio. Toledo at Miami of Ohio, Miami, Ohio at Buffalo, and Ohio at Buffalo. The top teams. Toledo Rockets, Jason Candle, head coach, his 10th year. It feels impossible to adequately evaluate Jason Candle. On one hand, despite running the program with more consistent investment and high-quality recruiting than any other conference mate, he's only won 2 MAC titles in 10 years. Probably sounds like a little bit of an underachievement. Toledo favored this year. But they've won 11 games twice. They've taken down Arkansas, Iowa State, BYU, Mississippi State, and Pittsburgh. Wow. Jason Candle, the Rockets. After a season opening visit to Kentucky, the Rockets are projected favorites in every remaining game. So when you're talking about the college football playoffs, who is going to represent the G6 for the 2025 playoffs? If we all are watching week 1 and Jason Candle's Toledo team defeats Kentucky. Now, Kentucky was pretty brutal last year. If Toledo goes on to Kentucky and beats Kentucky in Kentucky and then goes on to win all these games that they're going to be a favorite in the MAC conference, we all could be talking about the Toledo Rockets as in the playoffs. Think about that. Think about that, Toledo Rockets in the playoffs. But you can't count out the defending champions of the MAC, Ohio Bobcats. Brian Smith, first-year head coach. First-year head coach. Quarterback, Parker Navarro. Coming back. Left tackle, Davion Weatherspoon. DJ Walker. And Bangura, who transferred to Minnesota last year, did not play. Now he's coming back to Ohio. He was really good for the Bobcats 2 years ago. Buffalo Bulls, Pete Lembo, the head coach. Second year, and they were good last year. First year head coach, they were 9-4. 9-4. So anyways, this is what we got in the MAC conference. We've got ourselves a 4-team race. Toledo, Buffalo, Miami of Ohio, of course. Okay, let's get to the next story. I just want to hit a little bit on the MAC conference, talking some football. Bill Conley metrics on ESPN. Let's go through a few stories here before we get off to that CBS article that just was released before we came on live. Brandon Marcello. Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark tells CBS Sports he had a great conversation with the league's athletic directors this morning, and they are aligned on our preference for a 5+11 CFP model. The Big 12 coaches will meet with Yormark on Thursday to discuss further. Brett Yormark now. And there was another report out there that Brett Yormark said something to the effect, I can understand why the SEC coaches favor 5+11. So they're using The mixed messages coming out of SEC spring meetings and the Big 12 are using it to pound their message home that they want 5 plus 11. But Brian Kelly says, LSU coach Ross Dellinger, says officials this week did discuss a regular season scheduling arrangement with the Big Ten, including adding a 9th SEC game. It would be 9 SEC games plus a Big Ten game plus 2 others. We want to play Big Ten schools, Kelly says. Well, Lane Kiffin has come out and said he wants 16 teams and he wants basically 5 plus 11. As many as at large. He wants the 16 best. Lane Kiffin wants the 16 best, which he's not saying he wants auto bids, obviously. He wants them all open up for the SEC. Lane Kiffin. And then here in a little bit, we're going to go through a CBS report that says the SEC coaches, a lot of them are favoring 8 conference games, just like they have now, plus 1 with the Big Ten. I'm going to tell you, that ain't going to happen. That cannot happen. If that happens, Tony Petitti, it ain't going to happen. The Big Ten will not agree to that. Ross Dellinger on the clearinghouse. Coaches and athletic directors expect a mass run on the clearinghouse submissions once it launches as schools attempt to determine how much can I get outside of the cap. How tight is the clearinghouse going to run? How loose is it going to run? The Deloitte clearinghouse, that algorithm, that AI, whatever, our artificial intelligence, because they're not going to have human beings look at this. They're going to put the data into the computer. It's going to shoot out approved or denied. In what Ross Dellinger is reporting, that the coaches and athletic departments, athletic directors, they all expect a whole bunch of submissions when this happens. And we were told yesterday, the moment that Judge Wilkin approves, if she approves, the House NCAA settlement, the moment she approves it, the Deloitte clearinghouse will be up and running 3 days later. 3 days later. So this is all going to be coming. This is all going to be coming fast. And look at that. The Indiana Hoosiers are bringing back their mascot, the Bison. The Indiana Hoosiers. Hoosiers is a name for people in Indiana. They haven't had a mascot since the 60s. They are bringing back their Bison. The Bison is so entwined with Indiana history that its image is at the center of the state seal, kicking up its heels as a farmer nearby fells a tree. From 65 to 69, coinciding with Indiana Hoosiers' last trip to the Rose Bowl, the costume mascot roamed the sidelines before becoming extinct. In recent years, Indiana students have been pushing for the return of the Bison mascot, who has been largely forgotten by most. With the Indiana's football team drawing national attention last season, focus shifted back to the sideline and to the absence of a true mascot to rally the fans. It is happening. It was announced. The Bison is coming back to Bloomington, Indiana. So congratulations to all the Hoosiers in the PATC family You've got your mascot back. Congratulations. Okay. Ryan Willie, thank you so much for the super chat. Evil Badger. Like I said yesterday, go with the 442213 or ESPN and SEC will screw everyone, even the Big Ten. Thank you, Ryan Willie, for your super chat, for your generosity. I do appreciate it. Very, very much. Thank you, sir, for helping us keep the lights on. This is up to the SEC. I mean, their vote, they are the deciding vote. The Big Ten has put their lot behind the 442213. The Big 12 and the ACC, 5+11. SEC, you are the deciding vote. If you go with the Big Ten, it's 442213. 442213. If you decide with the Big 12 and the ACC and some of your coaches, it's going to be 5+11. And if you go to 5+11, there is the opportunity for the SEC to get more teams into the playoffs versus the 442213. On the other hand, if you go 5+11, the SEC is going to be missing out on their 9th conference game, the cross-scheduling agreement with the Big Ten, and their play-in games, which all would make them more money. But I think they know, they instinctively know. I think the metrics are telling them. I think the data is telling the SEC, if we go 5+11, more of us is going to qualify for the playoffs in the long run. We're going to have more home games on campus, sell more tickets, sell more beer, whatever. So that's got to be part of it as well. Now, I want to hit on something here. Ryan Thomas, Sankey is trying to sneak cheese on Greg's burger. Thank you, Ryan Thomas. I appreciate it. Like I said earlier today, thank you for the super chat, Ryan Thomas. Appreciate it. Like I said earlier, on X, let me show you here. If it ends up being 5+11, it would be my preferred choice over all other options besides the current playoff format, which is my favorite, which is going to be extinct by 2026. However, I would need to take the L and eat the abomination that is called a cheeseburger live on PATC. So either way, I really can't win. 5+11 is my preferred choice. And if it happens, well, I got to eat a cheeseburger. Because I have said for a very long time that it's going to be 4-4 for the Big Ten and the SEC. It's going to be 4-4. I've guaranteed it. I've guaranteed it to the point where I'm going to be eating a cheeseburger if I'm wrong. Well, it is May 28th. 5+11 definitely is alive here. That's the option. And if that happens, I got to take the L, even though it's my preferred choice. But I'm going to have to take the L and eat a cheeseburger. So either way, I'm not going to win. If it's 442213, that is not what I want. And if it's 5+11, what I want, I got to eat a cheeseburger. Okay, let's go to another story here. We are going to get to your phone calls. We are going to get to your phone calls, I promise you, as fast as I possibly can. But we've got a stacked show once again. CBS Sports. Brian Kelly speaks for the room on adding annual Big Ten foe. But SEC coaches far from unified on schedules. While the SEC coaches are in favor of playing an annual Big Ten opponent, there's a lot they don't agree on when it comes to scheduling. John Tulte, CBS Sports. LSU coach Brian Kelly strongly endorsed a rumored scheduling alliance between the Big Ten and the SEC on Wednesday, today. And he is not alone. He isn't alone. Our first goal would be wanting to play Big Ten teams as coaches, Kelly said Wednesday. I can speak for the room, Kelly said. We want to play Big Ten teams, but you got to get a partner. You got to get a partner who says we're in for that too. So we've made our voice clear. Our athletic directors know that as well, that we would like that. Our commissioner obviously heard us well. The rest will be up to what gets negotiated. Kelly said the reasons for wanting to play the Big Ten annually in the regular season are quite simple. The Big Ten now holds it on the SEC, Kelly said. They've won the last 2 national championships. That's the reality of it. We want to get challenged in that regard, and we like to be able to get that done. That's up to the commissioner and the athletic directors, but that's the wish of the room. Well, there's other reasons, and Kelly did not mention them. It's the money. SEC is going to get more money. ESPN wants this to happen, too. They want the scheduling agreement to happen for obvious reasons. The LSU coach said the SEC football coaches want 9 conference games plus an annual Big Ten game. But not all of them are saying that. Not all of them. However, Arkansas coach Sam Pittman later said he would actually prefer 8 conference games and maintain the status quo. But if he had to add a 9th game, his preference was for it to be a Big Ten opponent. The fans would enjoy seeing the SEC and the Big Ten playing in a play-in type of game or playing a 9th game each year. I think that was another option Coach Kelly was talking about other than playing 9 SEC games. I think the league wants us to go to 9, so either we go to 9 ourselves, but maybe invite another conference to play us. Despite Kelly saying he spoke for the room, PATC money shot coming up. Despite Kelly saying he spoke for the room, Pittman's preference for 8 SEC games plus a Big Ten scheduling agreement is the actual preference for a majority of the SEC coaches, according to sources familiar with the discussion. In their annual SEC spring meetings this week, the league's coaches supported keeping 8 conference games and moving to a 5+11 college football playoff format. Why isn't that something? The SEC wants to go to the coaches. They want 5+11. They do not want to increase their conference games. Oh, and by the way, they would look for a little bit more scratch, a little bit more money to have that cross-scheduling with the Big Ten. Even though the Big Ten has made it known, very clear, that we're not interested. We're not interested in a cross-scheduling games with the SEC if they're going to remain at 8 conference games. So again, once again, what has the SEC been talking about in their advisory group with the Big Ten? Why are they even talking about keeping 8 conference games and doing a Big Ten deal? That is off the table. The Big Ten would never do that. Isn't Sankey telling them this? It's so odd. We are at May 28th. May 28th. The actual preference, well, it's my actual preference, to be a billionaire. That is my actual preference, to be a billionaire instead of a guy with possibly 2 quarters rubbing against each other in my front pocket. Actual preference for a majority of SEC coaches is to keep their 8 SEC conference games plus a Big Ten scheduling agreement. You're not getting that. That's not even on the table. So again, the SEC should be talking about what's on the table. What's actually available to them. If the SEC wants to go 5 plus 11 and be 8 conference games, then that is what's going to happen. You're going to have the votes. We're going to go to 5 plus 11. Do it. Do it. Or your other option is 4-4-2-2-1-3 and have a cross scheduling at the Big Ten, have playing games. Go for it. Do it. But on May 28th, to be spending this whole meeting in the coach's room talking about this nonsense is the actual preference for the majority. Well, again, congratulations on the actual preference, but you ain't getting it. Of course, the coaches don't make those decisions. The SEC athletic directors have been much more gung-ho about moving to 9 conference games, recognizing there is additional money to be made at the time when every athletic department is looking for extra revenue to pay for the impending $20.5 million cap with the House settlement. There would also be inherent challenges with scheduling alliance with the Big Ten if both conferences don't have the same conference games. That should be obvious to everybody, including, especially, and at this time, May 28th, the SEC coaches should know this and not be spending any time among themselves debating, well, maybe we should stick to 8 conference games. That's not an option. Not 8 conference games with the scheduling agreement with the Big Ten. So there it is, guys. There is the CBS article. We talked about the CBS article. We talked a little bit of football, MAC action, Bill Connelly. And then let me finish it off. Let me finish off the monologue by bringing up what we talked about at the very beginning. speculation at a very high level, but only speculation because the person is not in the room. There is a real tight circle on this Big Ten and these 4 private equity firms jockeying to buy a percentage of the conference. I don't know anything, guys. We've been able to give you some information on the Big 12, but this Big Ten thing is... But we did hear some speculation only from a very high, the highest level booster in the Big Ten, Money Perch, the highest, sitting on the highest limb of the highest tree, basically explaining the BTM if the Big Ten Conference is doing this. If the Big Ten Conference actually goes through with it and agrees to sell a certain percentage of its conference, 10%, 20%, 30%, we do not know. If they actually go through with this, then it's either one of 2 enormous possibilities. One is they're willing to do this with Fox's blessing. They're willing to sell this percentage of their conference to a massive media giant. And there's really only a couple that come to mind. Or they're willing to do this. They'd be willing to pull the trigger on this sale, part of their equity, go into an equity firm. The other possibility is this. During a call, breaking news. Ross Dellinger. First of all, let me finish off this. If there was, the other option was selling it to a major bank and it would be part of a future plan of acquisitions. And that's as far as it went. Again, I don't know how to really handle this because it's speculation only, but it's from a person who involves themselves in private equity, although he's not involved in this particular deal. But anyways, let's go to the breaking news. Ross Dellinger. Now, why can't I... There we go. You know what? I got to change something up here on my screen. Okay. During a call earlier today, the Big Ten athletic directors discussed the 5+11 at-large CFP model under consideration in the SEC. Many athletic directors say they would not support such a model if the SEC remains at 8 conference games. The Big Ten plays 9 conference games. Okay, guys, this is ridiculous. This is important. As the SEC and the Big Ten together jointly hold authority over any future playoff format according to the CFP memorandum they signed last spring. Go with Swiss and not Wisconsin cheddar. It looks like I'm going to be eating the cheeseburger. It looks like I'm going to be taking the biggest L that I've ever taken on this show. Really the first true big loss of our peaks. It looks like it, doesn't it? But there's more to this than me possibly dying in front of you all by eating a cheeseburger. Now, we'll talk about the type of cheese later on. Okay? Ryan Thomas. Greg, don't you know that the SEC runs the college football? Thank you, Ryan Willie, for your super chat. Thank you, Ryan Thomas. Thank you guys so much for your support. This is absolutely ridiculous. During a call, the Big Ten athletic directors discussed the 8 automatic qualifiers and 11 at large. Many athletic directors say they would not support such a model if the SEC remains at 8 conference games. Well, Big Ten, guess what? There's so many things I gotta say. Oh my God. First of all, Big Ten, you don't have the votes. If the SEC wants to go 5-11 with the ACC and the Big 12, you're going to have to go 5-11. You're going to have to go 5-11. It's not like you have a choice. You got to go 5-11. Okay, so you would not support. Okay, good. Okay, fine. Fine. You would not support. Okay, you would not support. The Big Ten plays 9 conference games. I said this earlier today. Hold on. I'm going to get back to that tweet. I tell you, Tony Petitti, these commissioners, if I have one more person yell at me because I think Petitti and Sankey are not good at their jobs, I think I'm going to go off. I think actually I'm just going to go off. I said this earlier today. Let me make this clear. As a preferred choice, I like 5+11 more than the 4-4-2-2-1-3. Way more. I like the 5+7 more, but who cares? I like the 5+11. I posted this because I'm saying this is what Tony Petitti should say. Okay? Tony Petitti should come out today and express if the model becomes 5+11, the Big Ten might be forced to avoid losses and join the SEC, ACC, and having only 8 conference games. And then throw some Mercer-type OOC games week 11. Less money, but for more college football playoff slots. If Tony truly wants to fight for his vision. That's what Tony Petitti should be saying. Oh, we're going to go 5+11? Really? And the SEC is going to stay at 8 conference games? Really? Okay, we're going to 8. We'll take less money. We'll work it out with our media networks. But we're going to do the same thing the SEC has been doing, and we're going to do what the ACC has been doing. But no, the Big Ten doesn't do that. The Big Ten doesn't do that. They don't go on the offensive. Because Tony Petitti cannot speak in public. Remember that, for whatever reason. During a call earlier today, the Big Ten athletic directors discussed the 5-11. Many of the athletic directors say they would not support such a model if the SEC remains at 8 conference games. Well, you might not have a choice, Big Ten. You might not have a choice. You don't have the votes alone. And this is how stupid everything is. Okay? This is how stupid everything is. This is how stupid the SEC and the Big Ten. They play this power move. They say to the ACC, they say to Notre Dame, they say to the Big 12, look, we're going to break away. We're going to break away if you don't give us this power to create the next college football format, to have the distribution model favor us. We're going to break away if you don't give us this power. Then Yormark and Phillips fold like an accordion. The Big Ten and the SEC get the power, so now they have the power. They've been having these advisory groups. They've been having these discussions. They were aligned. We were told this months ago, and then it was followed up by public reports all over the place. Ross Dellinger, they were aligned. What happened? What happened? You two most powerful conferences in the country, just you two alone in a room. You can't even stick to your plan. You can't even stick to your plan. The SEC's got all these mixed messages. The Big Ten, their commissioner can't talk. So, what is going on? I don't know what's going on. I mean, my God. This is so... Petiti and Sankey are the extreme ends. Now, I'm not buying this Edward the Auburn Tiger. I'm not buying this. It's fifth dimensional chess. No, it ain't. No, I don't agree with that at all. This ain't a smoke screen. This ain't fifth dimensional. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't. The SEC is a big, powerful conference in spite of Sankey. Same with Petiti in the Big Ten. These guys, the way Sankey communicates is dreadful. Absolutely horrific. And of course, the way Petiti doesn't communicate is absolutely horrific. These guys have been in meetings together. They've been aligned. They've talked with the big, and they're not even getting there. They can't. The SEC is a mess with their messaging right now coming out of these spring meetings. And the Big Ten, all they can say is, well, if it goes to 5-11, we're not going to support it. They don't need your support, Big Ten. Can't you count up the votes? If the SEC goes to the Big 12, you should be proactive. You should be saying, is this the way college football is going to be? If Tony Petiti, who has been trying to get this 4-4-2-2-1 done, his media partners want it. If you can't get the votes, that's fine. But you know what you got to do? If you really want it, Tony Petiti, you've got to fight for it. And sometimes that is coming out in front of the mic and saying it. Someone in Congress tapped someone on the shoulder. Possibly. I don't know. Vox Quindaro, they're bumbling around. Sankey is defensive. The SEC is rudderless. When I read that the SEC coaches were seriously talking about what they wanted today was to stay at 8 conference games and still have a crossover game with the Big Ten. You know what that means? That means Sankey doesn't talk to these guys. Sankey today said, this is the first time I've had real deep discussions with anybody about any of this stuff. That's what he said. My God, I don't know what's going on. Hold on a second. Let me check something here. Let me check something. I apologize. I don't know what the SEC's been doing. I mean, how can you have these so-called talks, advisory groups, your presidents with the Big Ten presidents talking about this, and you come out these last 2 days and you are a complete mess? What are you doing? I will tell you this. If I was a Big Ten athletic director, let me be more specific. For an example, if I was Mark Coyle, who is the athletic director at the University of Minnesota, I would be telling the other athletic directors, I would be communicating with the other athletic directors. Now, obviously, they're communicating right now today because they're seeing the SEC messaging coming out of Destin, Florida, and they're shaking their damn heads over this. And if I was Mark Coyle, I'd be saying to everybody, you know what? I think it's time for us to get out of this advisory group with the SEC, because this thing was nailed down to the floor. We were going to do these 9th games. We've been talking to our media partners. We were going to do these play-in games. And the SEC is like, well, this is the first time we've had real discussions amongst each other. That is Greg Sankey's messaging right now. Oh, we're just talking about it. To the point where Ross Dellinger where somebody leaks it to Ross Dellinger, who, by the way, has a relationship, part of the Big Ten Network, among all his other duties, to the point where somebody leaked it to Ross Dellinger for him to come out today during SEC spring meetings and says, many Big Ten athletic directors say they would not support such a model, 5+11, if the SEC remains at 8 conference games, because they know that's the advantage the SEC has. So the Big Ten has to throw a rock through the SEC's window to wake them up on a day that the SEC, in reality, should either be talking with one voice or not talking at all, be Tony Petitti, but at least understand what is not possible, which is the 8+1, 8 comp. This is ridiculous. What is Greg Sankey doing? It's baffling. It is egregious. It is absolutely egregious. Good Lord. Opie, was the Big Ten contract done as a 9-game pay or 8-game pay? Would Fox let them drop to 9? No, there is 9 conference games. 9 conference games. Now, maybe they wouldn't be able to go to 8. Because remember, they got different media partners. They got these obligations. So maybe they can't even go to 8. And if they could go to 8, they would lose money off it. Of course they would. Of course. But when you have 9 conference games, you are assuring yourself more losses. Same thing with the Big 12, by the way, in conference play. And not only that, but the SEC, they throw in these games against Mercer and Citadel before they play their rivalry games against Clemson and Florida State with Florida. And, you can do so much more with your schedule. So what the Big Ten is basically saying, you're going to go to 5 and 11. Now you might support 5 and 11. SEC, really? You're going to go to 5 and 11. You're going to stay at 8 games, and you want to play 1 game with the. What a joke! By the way, Opie, thank you so much for your super chat. I apologize. I should have thanked you right away, but I am absolutely. I was not anticipating this level of incompetence by either Petitti and Sankey, even though I am the one who constantly says they do not impress me at all, and they never have, for various different reasons. Thank you so much for the super chat, Opie. Thank you so very much for your generosity, helping us keep the lights on. I appreciate it, Opie. Thank you so very much. So, Greg, you're angry because things have changed? I don't know. I don't think I'm angry. I am absolutely flummoxed. I'd rather have a 5+11. I would be very happy with that. I would be more happy with 5+7. But go black 45. If you wanna give Sankey a pass, that's your decision. And if everybody else in the chat room, your decision. But you cannot cannot start off your spring meetings by once again throwing barbs at the Big 12 commissioner and the ACC commissioner. And then you cannot have these mixed messages saying that we're finally talking about this in detail with my athletic directors and coaches. You've been having advisory meetings with the Big Ten. There have been public reports. We have been told this. Public reports. Ross Dellinger, the SEC, are in alignment with the Big Ten on this. And then the last 2 days, who knows what the hell you're for? You've got coaches who actually believe, who actually are pushing for 8 conference games. You stay where you're at, and then a crossover with the Big Ten. There is 0% chance of that happening. So why are you spending any time on that? It's a circus. It's a circus in Destin, Florida. Angry is not the word for it. I'm flabbergasted. Flabbergasted. This is not the day that the Big Ten should have to leak to Ross Dellinger and say, I bet they're just like, what the hell's going on over there? This is not the day that the Big Ten should have to leak to Ross Dellinger saying, we're not for 5+11 if the SEC remains at 8. The SEC and the Big Ten should not be throwing shots at each other right now. But the Big Ten just did. Why are they having these advisory meetings? Why are they having these advisory meetings? If neither of these, if Sankey cannot stay on the beam, you're absolutely thinking of cheese. Oh yeah. Well, that, you know what? To be honest, that's probably I'm going to be eating a cheeseburger. I'm going to be eating a cheeseburger because of what has transpired here. Holy smokes. Thank you so much, Opie, for the super chat. Thank you so much for your generosity. I think you're right. Why do I want 5+11? Because I don't want predetermined. I only want auto bids for the conference champions. I loved the playoffs last year. I loved it. I loved everything about it. Everything. I want to have it 5+7 for 2026 and beyond. But that ain't going to happen. So I want 5+11. I don't want the predetermined spot. Would I enjoy playing games? Yes. Would I enjoy covering the conference races to get the play-in game? Yes. I think we would all have fun with that. My problem is I would be okay with it as long as the numbers could switch every couple of years, dependent on the performance of the conferences. But in reality, I'm not for the auto bids, except for a conference champion. But this was the plan between the SEC and the Big Ten. Like, yes, this was the Big Ten proposal. Yes, the SEC was never totally committed to it, but they knew what was involved in it if they did it. They knew that they could get the play-in games, the ninth conference game, and the crossover with the Big Ten. Money, money, money. But if they go 5-11, all that is gone. 5+11. There's not going to be no cross game with the... I think the Big Ten, not only will the Big Ten say, forget it, SEC, you go your way. Not only won't there be a cross-scheduling agreement, but I think there won't be any more advisory meetings between the two. Because obviously, the SEC, Sankey does not talk to his... Something is weird going on in that conference. Sankey publicly said today that this is the first time I've had these deep talks with my people. Are you crazy? What are you talking about? Are you just like making things up? Or is that the truth? If that's the truth, wow. Okay, let's open up the phone lines here. Ryan Willie, you won't have to pick on me anymore. I just think your constant Chiefs talk is stupid. This evil Badger is gone permanently. Sorry, Greg. Ryan Thomas, I hope you haven't been picking on Ryan Willie. I haven't seen that in the chat room. Don't pick on each other. Ryan Willie, I don't want to see you gone. So please come back. Ryan Thomas, take it easy on the evil Badger talk. Thank you for the super chat, Ryan Willie. Appreciate it so very much. The phone lines are now open. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. This is crazy. This is all crazy.
Call from
Nathan Jones.
Nathan Jones, the floor is yours. How are you doing, sir?
Pretty good. I'm a first-time caller, Greg. Been
I appreciate it. Thanks for calling.
Pretty much ever since you've started your show. I just wanted to talk about the potential 5+11 format and why I think as a Big 12 fan and how, Brett Yormark, he's a betting man and he bets on himself, is I think, if he can get this if the SEC can be aligned with him in the ACC, and obviously the Big Ten will have to conform as well, that for the next media deal, Brett Yormark sees an opportunity to get private equity or private capital into the conference, that he can get, obviously money will help pay for NIL, help pay for recruits. That is, the Big 12 can get these recruits and get these teams built up, that he has a fighting chance, to steal a lot of these players from the SEC and Big Ten into potentially, get a bigger media deal, because we've got schools out west, Utah, BYU, Arizona State, Colorado. I mean, these are just sleeping giants, in my opinion, where people are moving out west, more enrollment, that we could be, heck, in 10, 15 years, the Big 12 could be a really national conference, big conference. And I think if we go to the 4-4, 2-2, one ideal, I just don't think that's going to happen. It's just going to be very hard. It's just going to be an uphill battle from here on out.
Okay. Look, I think most Big 12 fans of Big 12 teams agree with you. Some do not. Some would rather just take the two out of bids and fear that they're not going to get as many. Nathan Brown, Big 12 college football mafia show, BYU Cougar. Nathan Brown does not want the 5+11. He just thinks the SEC is going to mop up. They're going to get all these. Where Big 12 is not going to average two every year with that. So There are, again, I want to bring up, while you're on the phone here, I want to bring up Chris Vanini's tweet here, post. I asked Utah Athletic Director Mark Harlan if there is concern a 5+11 model could lead to more SEC teams without more Big 12 teams getting in. And Mark Harlan said, then Big 12, let's win more games. Let's get after it. So he would agree with you. Athletic Director Mark Harlan would agree with Nathan Jones. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, at first, it looks bad. Like, well, the SEC is going to get all the schools. Mm-hmm. But with Brett Yormark and his vision and how he thinks that he can grow this conference, I just think, it's definitely a gamble, but I don't see how else it's going to play out in the future if he can't get something as attainable in the future, if that makes sense. I mean, right now, you're right. It's like the SEC will probably get 5 teams in. Big Ten will get 4 or 5 as well. But I just think for the future, if they can get this passed, I think that's what he's looking at. I think he's looking long term.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I wanted to say, Greg. I really enjoy your show, and can't wait for the football season to start. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Beautiful call, sir. Thank you. Call again.
Yep, we'll do. Thanks.
Yep. We got to make sure that first-time callers call again.
Call from
CFP Plus.
CFP Plus. Can you hold on for just one moment, please?
Absolutely.
Now I lost it because I'm an idiot. Oh, here is Mowing After Dark, friend of the show, Mowing After Dark. He puts up this post. It's 10 before midnight. 10 minutes before midnight. I was talking about on his show on last Friday, I said, for the very first time ever, I've got the breakaway clock moved past 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I've got it at 9 in the evening. We get close. Everything that happens, I get more fearful of that eventual breakaway. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm for the 5+11. But you know what? Usually on this show, some of the conversation is, boy, these conferences are leaving a lot of money on the table. Look at the Big Ten. They should do unequal revenue sharing. The Buckeyes in Penn State and Michigan should be making more than the other Big Ten schools. And a lot of conversations wrap around that, right? Well, here is a situation in which the Big Ten has been planning for 4 auto bids, play-in games, another game crossover with the SEC. All these ways to make more money, and now it might not happen for them. So again, there are different ways in which a conference, I don't even know if I want to go down that rabbit hole, but I just want to show that as an example of, boy, the SEC is turning down, they are turning down money if they go 5+11. They're flatly turning down a pretty good chunk of change. And that's why the athletic directors are not for the 5+11, but the coaches, they want 8 conference games and 5+11. Well, of course they do. Go ahead, CFB Plus. The floor is yours.
Well, there is a lot to get to, and if I take too long, cut me off.
Yeah, there's some noise in the background. What do you got?
Oh, I'm driving right now, so
okay,
that may be it.
Okay,
I apologize.
Right. Go ahead.
I'll be parked here soon.
Yeah.
So, first to address the breakaway, I don't know if this chaos strengthens or hurts any potential breakaway, because to my understanding, or I guess how I view it, is if there were to be any sort of breakaway, the SEC and Big Ten would have to do it together. I don't think the Big Ten or the SEC would do that individually. And so this just highlights the lack of unity between the two as of right now. They had the meetings, they've had the advisory boards, and they clearly are not on the same page like a cohesive unit.
No, they're not. And I think the Big Ten believed they were.
Yeah, and I think everyone else thought they were. But chaos breeds chaos, so, never count anything out of the question. But then it also, I think this highlights a very important aspect of the SEC, in that perhaps the SEC is not as, big and scary as everyone thinks they are. Like, they still have their own struggles and internal conflict, and there are definitely aspects of this which they have not done a good job at, and that is showing. So it's kind of interesting to see some of the cracks form in, the image of the SEC.
They should have. Paul Feinbaum, I got a post up here. Heather Dinich is talking, and she's saying it's difficult getting everyone on the same page. It's a showdown right now, and they're talking about the SEC coaches versus the SEC athletic directors, 8 conference games versus 9 conference games. You know what? It is logical for a big conference to have different opinions. No question about it. Different factions, different people pushing things. All that is absolutely understandable, 100,000%. But we are at May 28th. This is the SEC spring meetings. You knew all this stuff was going to be asked. This has been a big thing. Get your bleep together before the spring meetings. Decide on a vote, and if it's tied, have the commissioner decide it. Have these deep discussions before you get to Destin, Florida. Not when you get there. This is I'm sorry, SEC fans in the chat. I get it. SEC, big, strong, never do anything wrong. But this is a bleep show. You got to know what you're doing by now. You are in groups. You are in an advisory group with another conference. You guys have figured this stuff out already. And now you're going all half bleep. This is fine to do behind the doors before you get to Destin, Florida. You've had months and months of this. If any other conference would be acting like, if any other conference messaging was like this, the SEC fans would be laughing it up. But because it's the SEC, there's no big deal. Great. Oh, come on. This is ridiculous. Come on, Sankey, get your bleep together. Honestly. It's embarrassing at this point. Everybody was expecting the SEC to tell, okay, what are you for? They don't even know what they're for. They're scattered all over the place. This should have been decided long ago. Go ahead, sir. Especially when you're an advisor, when you're talking with the Big Ten. This is Big Ten, get the hell out of those groups, man. Don't be talking anymore to the SEC. Don't be doing it. This ain't worth nothing to the Big Ten. Go ahead, sir. The floor is yours.
No, I agree. I mean, there's always going to be disagreements. There's always going to be factions, but you gotta take care of business privately.
Yeah.
But so a question I have is, what happens if the Big Ten and SEC cannot agree on a playoff format, because they are the ones, they have the sole voting powers. So it's a 50-50 split.
Well, if they don't agree, then it's going to go the way of the SEC, Big 12, and ACC. In other words, because the ACC and the Big 12 are not in favor of what the Big 10 wants to do. So,
correct.
So I think we're inching. I mean, if the SEC truly, I mean, we don't know. We don't know what the SEC. We know what the Big 12 wants. We know what the ACC wants. We know what the Big 10 wants. We're all waiting around for the SEC, and look at the messaging coming up. You've got Paul Feinbaum. I'm watching it. He's got Heather Dinich on. Heather Dinich is like, they don't know what they're doing. And of course, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they want. It's a big mess in the SEC. And somehow I'm the one, this is ridiculous. Come on. Sankey, get it together. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I guess we know that the ACC, the Big 12, and Notre Dame.
Hold on. I'm sorry.
You're good.
No, go ahead. Keep going.
Oh, so we know. Well, I guess I'm just wondering because even though we know that the Big 12, ACC, and Notre Dame want the 5+11 model, they can't vote that in. And if the Big 10 wants the 4-4-2-2-1-3, then I guess
no.
Even if
the SEC wants 5+11, they can vote it in because they got the Big 12 ACC support.
But even if the Big 12 and ACC don't have any voting power,
oh, they got voting power.
Oh, they do.
They do got voting power. The CFP governance, this LLC, the voting, they all got votes, but the Big Ten and the SEC, once they agree with each other on something, they have the power, no matter what anybody else does. That was the CFP governance. But if they disagree, then it's going to go to whoever can get the majority. And of course, in this case, the SEC, the 5+11 would rule.
Okay.
That is my understanding.
That makes sense.
No, they've got votes.
That makes sense.
But their votes really shouldn't be all that effective. That is why the Big Ten, one of the reasons why the SEC and the Big Ten have been getting together all this time. And now at the very last moment, the SEC's like, well, first time we're really talking about it. We don't know what the hell we're for. We're going to have this debate in front of everybody. Well, they've had all these months to do this debate. They don't need to go to Destin, Florida, and then have all these ESPN people come up on stage and go, they don't know what they want to do. You can have a debate. Get it done before you go to Destin, Florida. It's not like these athletic directors don't have meetings. They have meetings before they have a spring meeting. The presidents all talk with each other. They've been in meetings with the Big Ten. It really, it's outrageous what's going on. Go ahead, sir.
Well, and then what's also crazy about it is presidents have meetings with the coaches all the time. Or I guess I'm under the impression that there is a direct line of communication. And, we've been hearing about this 4-4-2-2 model for a couple of months. I know it hasn't been overly publicized, but it has been mentioned by some reputable national reporters. These coaches should know about this and should have known about this for a long time. And the fact that Sankey is now having a conversation with him about it is he is either lying or there's just it's a circus, a communication circus at least.
Yeah, it's either one or the other. I don't know. Thank you, CFP Plus, for the phone call. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'll let someone else hop on. We just have to sit back and watch this dumpster fire play out.
Yeah. Appreciate it, sir. Great call. Jan says the ADs want the same thing as the Big Ten wants. I think they do because they're looking at the budgets, they're looking at the money. I agree. I agree. They've been in these advisory groups with the Big Ten. Absolutely.
Call from
Rick.
Rick, thanks for calling, sir. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer this is a Mutt and Jeff act of the good cop, bad cop.
I used to think that way. I don't know anymore. I don't know.
They're trying they're trying to make it. In the end, Sankey will come out in front of a microphone and tell the SEC's position. And when he says 442213, he'll say, this was a very, very, very difficult decision we had to make.
Mm-hmm.
We've run it from one side of the spectrum with 5-11. We've considered 8 games plus 1 with the Big Ten. We've considered all of these things. Everything has been taken into account. So all you congressmen, go back to work, because we've decided on 442213.
Mm-hmm. You could be right, sir. You could be right.
Greg, what's the first plane that has to land?
The House NCAA settlement plane.
And we still haven't got that.
But after that one, I think has to be the college football playoff format. And then the next one, depending on that.
With you.
What was that?
I disagree. I think the 9-game has to be.
The 9-game is dependent on the format. The format's got to be decided before the 9-game.
I don't think so.
Well, if they go to 5+11, they're not going to go to 9.
But that's the Mutt and Jeff. That's the good cop, bad cop, with Sankey and Petiti trying to get the SEC ADs to buy into the 9-game. First, let's vote on the 9-game. Second, we'll vote on the playoff. Because once you've got the 9-game locked up, you've won the game.
Yeah, but they're all waiting to see what the playoff format is before they decide on the 8 or 9. I mean, look, they're tied together. The planes are tied together. They're both landing or they're both crashing together. Because you're not going to go, you can't go to 9, you're not going to go to 9, you're only going to go to 9 games. The SEC is only going to go to 9 games if there's auto bids. If there's no auto bids, they're not going to 9 games. So they're connected. The planes are connected. There's a fishing line connected between the 2 airplanes.
I hope they land on separate runways. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So, thank you, Rick. So let me show you what Ross Dellinger said here. The SEC coaches and athletic directors saw data of 3 CFP formats this week. I don't quite understand any of this because hold on.
Call from
John Grove.
John Grove, can you hold on a second?
Of course.
I appreciate it. I don't understand this because what have they been doing? Okay, I'm not going to harp on that anymore. I'm just wondering, why did it take today? The Big Ten's been doing this forever. I mean, they've been talking in these groups. Number 1, 5+11. Number 2, 3 options that the SEC coaches and athletic directors saw data from. Number 1, 5+11. Number 2, 4-4-2-2, 1+3. And the third option is 4-4-3-3, 1+1. The first 2 are under the most consideration. Okay? Pushback from the SEC coaches in public, Ross Dellinger has it in parentheses, has sparked more discussions from many SEC athletic directors who favor the 4-4-2-2 1+3 model. The SEC presidents are meeting now. Commissioner Greg Sankey is expected to address reporters after to end day 2 of the 3-day SEC meetings, a college football playoff decision before even a consensus is not expected here this week. Same goes for the debate over 8 versus 9 SEC games. Okay, before I get to John Grove, and thanks John Grove for your patience. Number one, I don't really have too much of a problem, personally, that the SEC hasn't made their decision and won't after these spring meetings, okay? I mean, everyone else has made their known. If the SEC needs a little bit more time, okay, fine. I don't have a problem with, here's my problem. On May 28th, the SEC coaches, where people are telling me, well, Greg, don't listen to them. Their voices don't matter. It's really the athletic directors. In some degree, I agree with you all. But the SEC coaches actually came out. A CBS report came out today and said during these meetings on Wednesday, the SEC coaches, most of them favor 8 conference games plus the Big Ten crossover. That is when I read that, when that came out, that means that the SEC has not had deep discussions on this at all. In fact, Greg Sankey admitted it. He said today this is the first time they've had real deep discussions. What the heck have you all been doing? Honestly, to the point where the Big Ten had to leak to Ross Dellinger that the athletic directors in the Big Ten are saying, yeah, well, we're not in favor of no 5+11 if the SEC is going to stay at 8 conference games. Not that the Big Ten has any power over this. This is something has gone completely haywire. You've got Heather Dinich. I've been watching it, guys. Forget about what the fat guy from Minnesota has been saying. Watch Heather Dinich. Watch Brandon Marcello. Watch these guys. Pat Forty. They're all going up there to Paul Feinbaum and they're saying the SEC cannot make a decision on any of this stuff. They don't know what they're for, and a lot of this should have been held behind closed doors. Some of the discussions should not be going on today. So just because, look, I have learned this. Just because you're a big, powerful conference does not mean you are run well. Kevin Warren was terrible. He did a great job on the TV deal, but he drove the presidents nuts. He talked way too much. He was not organized. He was too impulsive to the point where Fox was not willing to do any more moves with Kevin Warren. They were not going to bring Oregon and Washington on until Kevin Warren left the office, left that position. That's how bad it got. And the Big Ten was big and powerful under Kevin Warren. It doesn't mean that Kevin Warren was doing a good job. That's all I'm going to say. This was not a well-run situation, messaging by the SEC. In my opinion, disagree with me with the phone calls in the chat, super chat. John Grove, thank you for your patience. The floor is yours.
Greg, I just want to say, just first and foremost, I appreciate you not only allowing me to get in this call, but for showing your passion towards this hot agenda that has been scorching the college football landscape over the past few days. I want to take it a step further. This is possibly the biggest botched PR messaging I've seen from any conference commissioner for quite some time since George Kliavkoff. How can you not be on the same page? We got two colliding stories, all right? First, from a coach's standpoint, where they are in favor not only the 5 plus the 5 champion 11 on the 11 at large bid process, but they're in favor of 8 conference games still. 8 conference games, including the one game they would have with the Big Ten. Meanwhile, this contradicts everything that what we've seen so far from not only the powers that be, but just from an athletic director standpoint, saying, oh, well, we need these bigger brand kind of matchups. We need all of this. Well, if the coaches are not on board, what's to say then that the Big Ten will not be built on board right afterwards? And everything's just coming together, and it's causing so much stress. I mean, there's so many
The thing is that the Big Ten has a position. Not everybody in the Big Ten agrees with that position. I mean, it comes to a point where the Big Ten says, okay, let's take a vote. We've talked about this a million times over the months. We've talked about it with the SEC. What is our position? Oh, this is our position. The Big 12, you got 16 teams. You got blah, 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 blah. Some people want this. Some people want that. Blah, 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 blah. And then Brett Yormark, athletic director, this is the Big 12's position. The ACC, blah, blah, blah. The SEC's got to get a position.
Yeah,
and it ain't like you haven't had all this time to get your position. You're talking about models today. Again, that was part of these discussions between the Big Ten and the SEC all these months. Go ahead, John Grove.
And on top of that, I mean, if you're Greg Sankey, you were literally talking about what's been going on, what's going on behind the process. You were saying that to the media yesterday when everything right afterwards does not happen to be true. All right. He pointed out, like, he's been kind of throwing some stuff out towards the Big 12 and the ACC about what's right for college football, what's not right. He wants to move forward after that. None of that was true. The Big 12 did not come out with a statement, so that's one thing. The other thing is that for one, he's only expressed his standpoint and the AD standpoint, and certainly towards the Big Ten standpoint on where things stand. But if not everybody's on board, and that just tells me that's just not a well-ran ship. That's not a well-ran ship, and I'll even take it a step further. I think a lot of the conference commissioners have not done their job, and this is just saying me as a K-State fan, but I don't think Yormark has, despite all the stuff that he's done with alignment and everything, I don't think he's done a good job until recently getting the schools on board with what's going on there. Of course, you got the entire ACC situation. The Big Ten, I'm sure Tony Petitti has not been as vocal as he should have been, and it's quite frankly very frustrating that we aren't getting I understand. We're seeing the good cop, bad cop play out with Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti and all that, where Sankey's kind of being a little bit more vocal, a little bit more, he's lashing more. Meanwhile, you've got Tony Petitti who's pushing for this, but he's not the one saying it. He should be the one saying it. I don't understand why they haven't. All right, if you're in charge of what's to come up with the college football playoff format over the next few years, you got to take the next step, man. You got to take the next few steps instead of just hiding behind Greg Sankey's shadows and instead letting him take the shots, even though, quite frankly, it's kind of warranted at this point. So I don't know. I was listening to the first part of the show. I had to leave a little bit early, but I was triggered. A lot of poor communication on both sides. Yeah. It's all unraveling, and unfortunately, with less continuity there, I'm very worried about what could happen, not just with the playoff format, but I mean, to an unrelated degree, just the house settlements and everything. I don't know. I'm going to hang up before I go on a gasket. But appreciate the show, Greg, and keep up the good work.
Appreciate it. Hummer Henderson, 18 playoff. One team, highest rated conference. Let each conference arrange their own playoff or whatever money they can get. They can figure out something. I don't know what you mean by one team highest rated conference. I don't think we're ever going to have like conference tournaments leading to one representative of each conference into a smaller national tournament. The Big Ten and the SEC wouldn't go for that. But then again, who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows at this point? Thank you for the super chat, Hummer Henderson. I apologize if I can't quite figure that out. I don't think conferences are going to have playoffs. They're going to have play-in games possibly, but not playoffs. The SEC would never say, okay, let's have conference playoffs, have one SEC team versus one Big Ten team versus one ACC team versus one Big 12 team. That ain't going to happen. The breakaway would happen long before any of them would agree to that, in my opinion. In my opinion. Thank you for the super chat, Helmer Henderson. Thank you for all your support and all that. Again, I am not against Larry the GM. I'm not against president, athletic directors, and coaches not agreeing with each other. I'm not against them talking it out. This is healthy. I'm not against any of that. None of it. None of it. I've already said these conferences are not going to agree with each other. You're not going to have 100% agreement. But you know what? SEC spring meetings are not, you don't have to wait until the spring meetings to have these talks. You should be having these talks throughout and you should be able to, you should be able to tell your coaches that this 8 conference games, staying at 8 conference games, but yet having one crossover with the Big Ten, but that's not even on the table. So why are the SEC coaches even talking about it? Why they're all coming out of this room saying this is what we want the most? CBS is reporting it. Heather Dinich is reporting it. It ain't going to happen. It's like nobody told them it ain't going to happen. That is, okay. And then this good cop, bad cop, which I have said many times. A couple callers have said, Rick and John Grove, and I do not believe anymore in this bad cop, good cop. I think Tony Petitti doesn't like to talk, and I think Sankey talks too much without saying anything at all. I don't believe in this good cop, bad cop anymore. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I mean, you've got the Big Ten leaking to Ross Dellinger today about the athletic directors talking about what the heck's going on in SEC country and saying, we don't support the 5+11 if the SEC stays at 8 conference games. We're at that point. We should not be at that point. I mean, why is the SEC Big Ten having advisory meetings with each other? To avoid this. The debates, interconference debates, of course. But to make it to where your ESPN, have anybody have listened to you talk to have you been watching this? Forget about Greg Flugar. The ESPN talking heads are like, boy, there is a struggle going on in the SEC and it's being all played out in front of us. That's what they're saying. It ain't just, forget about me for a moment. If any other conference would be doing this, and again, it's not like it's been an issue that just propped up. Everybody knows the landscape. SEC and the Big Ten have the power if they agree. The athletic directors of both conferences seem to agree with each other. I believe the presidents are probably going to agree with each other. I think we're probably, even today, going to get a 4-4, 2-2, 1-3. But when you've got Sankey saying this is the first time that I've had deep discussions with my group, Sankey said it, not me. Sankey said that. Google it. That's not being a leader. I don't think this is one ugly way to get to 4422. 511 is just a smokescreen, Cranky Tiger. In the end, the money will win. I think you're right. And again, I'm for 511. So I'm rooting for 511. But I don't know. I cannot put that on. I cannot put on. Let me know. Is Sankey on with Feinbaum right now? I can't just play it. So let me know. Let me see if there's any reporting here coming out. Is 365 Sports. Greg Sankey isn't ignoring the noise. He hears the Big 12 and ACC loud and clear. But will the SEC budge? The power plays behind the playoff politics are just getting started. Woo! What a day. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Please subscribe to our channel. College football's peek around the corner. Passionate college fans talking everything in college football. Today we talked about some MAC action. MAC, the Mid-Atlantic. Look, the Mid-American Conference. The favorite, of course, this year is the Toledo Rockets, the Buffalo Bulls, the Ohio Bobcats. MAC action going on this year. We're going to be covering it all at Peek Around the Corner. So if you missed it, go back earlier in our show. Earlier in our show, and we talked some football. And of course, we've been talking about the playoff kerfuffle, what it's going to look like for 2026 and beyond. The SEC meetings have been a lot of, CFB Plus. Okay, here we go. Buckle up. Okay, let me know. Stop playing. I'm not playing any clips. Got it. Thank you. I cannot put it on live, so let me know what is being said. I'm going to try to follow the reports here if somebody reports on X. Okay, guys, I think we're going to lock it up. If there's anything said of importance, then I'll probably maybe do a late night episode on it. Again, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Smash that like button. When you subscribe, turn on those notifications because we can come on live at any time here at Peek Around the Corner. We cover breaking news, everything in college football. We got quite a passionate college football fan base here at PATC. Love all of you guys. I appreciate you all coming in on a Wednesday, late afternoon. I want to thank Expedition Greg, Bill G, Ryan Willie, Ryan Thomas, Opie, and Helmer Hennison for your generosity once again and keeping the lights on here at Peek Around the Corner. I want to thank the great phone callers. One of them was a first-time caller. Please call again. Great phone calls. The phone calls are really the juice of this show. And, of course, the great comments in the comment section. I appreciate all you guys. CFB Plus says, this interview reeks of damage control. Hey, if you disagree with if you disagree with my take and what is going on at the SEC meetings, I completely respect that. But just let you know, ESPN, Paul Feinbaum, Heather Dinich, and all of them are like, yikes. They do not know what they want in the SEC. It's splintered all over the place. Anyways, we're going to keep following this story and all the other stories in college football. Join us next time. Subscribe. Please subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Until next time. From all of us at PATC to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.